Okay, so this is the new project car. The start date today is 24th of March 2016. I got it back about a week ago, but haven't done anything with it yet. This is what I'm told is a 1958 MGA Roadster. However, the ID badge doesn't quite give us the exact date, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of research and look at some codes and go back to Google. It has been kitted up for racing essentially, so it has a slightly different windscreen format. There's got some blanking plates here which have just been pretty crudely welded over. The engine bay slightly different to a normal MGA. It is a 1.8 litre MGB engine, and down on the block, hidden down there, you can just make out 1800. Spider's webs in the way. It has had the addition of an oil cooler, slightly different Weber Lynx carburetors, which are missing the air filters, a fairly rudimentary fuel pump here, and I suspect there's one at the back, lots of wires going to nowhere, pedal box that's in need of repairs. I think the whole wiring loom essentially is going to have to get ripped out and put away. There's more wires going to nothing and end caps than anything. Wiper motor, we've got the wiper blade, so I need to take that out and recondition that and see if I can get it working. I've taken the grille off, but I've done very little else. Someone's put some horrendous fog lights on it, possibly for when it was racing. I think we'll get rid of them and see if we can get that bumper re-chromed now. So we've just drained the oil. You can see how much crud and rubbish there is underneath. It is going to get completely stripped is my plan, and either pressure washed or soda blasted or whatever. Now there's the first issue we have, is in these sills. It's a pretty iffy paint job up close. Actually, it looks good from a distance. I don't know why someone's painted the wheels as well. I'm hoping to get them blasted and maybe see if I can chrome them or paint them, but they don't look very good as is. Pretty tired looking interior, more wires going nowhere, most of the dials not really set up. And there's the big job. Both sides, both sills, inner and outer sills, are going to need replaced. I'm going to have to do a bit of reading about that, and then I'm also going to have to teach myself how to weld. We've got some nice chrome at the back again, which is going to need spruced up. Beautiful body shape. At this stage I'm thinking completely change it round and go red paint with a tan interior. That's the current thought of the day. Pretty ropey interior actually when you get up close. Battery boxes, now it originally had the two 6-volt batteries, so we've got one fairly rusted out in rotten cradle, another one over the other side which has seen better days as well. A very manked up differential. I've gone through a few of the forums and I've essentially just opted for a 12-volt battery, which I'm not too bothered about the weight differential. If you've got just the driver and then maybe I put the battery on the passenger side, I don't think it's going to make too much difference. I'm not going to be flinging this around any racetracks, but the battery is the smallest one I could find, the smallest footprint I could find of a 12-volt. What I'm essentially going to do first off the bat is change the oil over. I've got a new oil filter, top it up with some new stuff, get some fuel, and I'm going to change that fuel filter and everything else, but the tank hasn't been dropped out yet. The tank's probably full of crud. It's probably got about 20 years worth of rubbish in it, so I'm not going to, it's going to be, so that says 51, but I don't think that's the year, so I'm going to have to, and the original colour being green, so I'm going to have to trace back the car a number maybe and see if we can get a better idea where it came from. It's obviously got a little blanking plate on the side where the original mechanical fuel pump was, so it's now got a fuel filter and fuel pump in the back, and then a supplementary electric one here, which does work. The wiring's all a bit iffy, but it's basically a short wire. As soon as I connect up the battery, the fuel pump starts going even without the ignition. So I'm going to try and put some fuel in a jerry can spray some oil into each of the cylinders just to make sure that they've got a little bit of lubrication, because I've got no idea when this engine was last turned over. Unfortunately, I know this is probably going to upset a lot of the purists out there. I can't hand crank it, which is probably the safe thing to do, in that I don't know when it was last started, because if I go underneath here, I suspect it's because the MGB engine is not obviously what came with it, but the steering rack there and that pillar on the bottom of the radiator really restricts me getting access to the bolt to turn it by hand. And I've had a go with all the different sockets I have. Look how manky it is. So I'm going to have to take the chance and just give it a little bit of a tickle on the starter motor and see if I can get it into life with a little bit of accelerant sprayed into the carburetors and a bit of choke. So that is it for today. I'm giving myself 4 years for this project, which sounds like a ridiculous long time. However, I have 2 small kids and a job, and I'm teaching myself as I go. So we will see whether I can get it done in 4 years. But that is the project. There will be plenty of updates once I've started stripping things off. I'm going to start taking some of the peripheral stuff off, like the chrome, and start tagging and bagging everything. I'm a bit worried when I start taking body panels off that it might warp and twist. And we've got fairly nice door jamb tolerances now. It's obviously, that's not too bad around the side. Obviously there's a seal missing on this side. It looks like the original green colour. Fuel filter through the back there. But it's a pretty reasonable nick vehicle. Obviously when I stick taking panels off, more rot might become apparent, and the scale of the job I've got in front of me might become more apparent. But for just now, that's the first update. March 2016, Project Ronnie the Roadster.